soccer national championships with one aspiration, to be crowned a national champion. Tonight, just two remain, as it's Hastings College and Central Methodist University. Let's crown a national champion live on ESPN3. Greetings and salutations, everybody. This is Brian Brownfield. I'll be joined by Curtis Lewis in a couple of moments. What a matchup we have for you tonight, the 2019 NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship. And let's start by talking about the defending champions, Central Methodist University. They come in with the top offense in the NAIA, 120 goals, and they're trying to be the first back-to-back champion in about 18 years when Lindsey Wilson College did it right at the turn of the century. Not only is their offense elite, they have one of the best defenses in the country, 15 shutouts. There's only one team that's been better all season, and they've outscored their opponents 15-1 in the national championship. I mentioned that one team that's been better defensively. Yeah, that's Hastings College. They're ranked number 1 in the NAIA. They have 16 shutouts on the season, and all 3 of their final site matches have been victories against teams ranked in the top 8 in the country. 5 matches here in the 2019 edition, and they have been stellar while allowing just a handful of goals. Our player profile for tonight, we will begin with Central Methodist's own Alberto Pangrazzi. He has been stellar in this national tournament, and he has scored 4 times, including a hat trick in the opening round against Georgia Gwinnett College. He's the leader in the tournament with 4 goals scored, and recently he set the all-time program record at Central Methodist with 23 goals. He's a senior at 6'3" out of Lavis in Italy, and he certainly is going to be heavily featured on offense for Central Methodist tonight as they attempt to go back-to-back in the national championship. On the other side for Hastings, it's Callum Watson who's going to be an important player here tonight. He did not play in the semifinals after sitting out due to taking his 10th yellow card, but he's back and he opens things up in the midfield. He is patient, and yet he has all kinds of speed. He leads the Broncos with 10 goals and 15 assists. Those 15 helpers, good for 5th most in the NAIA. When we come on back, we'll take you through the starting lineups and get you set for kickoff of the national championship here at the OC Great Park in Irvine, California, live on ESPN.
6-foot sophomore midfielder number 18, Mark Tommy. 6-foot freshman defender number 19, Carlos Sheckerman. And 5'8" sophomore defender number 20, Marcus Irvine. And 6'3" senior forward number 23, Alberto Razi. And a goal of 6-foot senior number 1, Witz Jelly. And coach for Central Methodist is Alex Nichols. Please welcome the officials for today's match. Our referees is Nima Sagapi. Assistant referees are Edward Hernandez and Francisco. Our fourth official is Alaa Tahapi. At this time, will you please rise for the singing of our national anthem by Hannah Hart.
Welcome back here to the OC Great Park in Irvine, California. Just about set for kickoff of the 2019 NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship match between Central Methodist University and Hastings College. Brian Brownfield here with you, and I'm joined alongside his broadcasting debut, but he's a pro at this thing called soccer. Curtis Lewis, head soccer coach of the women's squad at the Masters University. And Coach, you've played in a national championship match before. What's it like before the game when you're out there during the national anthem, the butterflies running through your stomach? Take me through the mind of a player.
Yeah, you're absolutely nervous until that whistle blows and you get into your groove. I would assume many of these guys didn't sleep well the night before. You're dreaming, you're hoping, and you're excited for the game just to get started. It's hard when it's a night game because you've been waiting all day long just to get out there. You'd rather just start it at 11 in the morning and get it done with. But these guys are excited. They've worked very hard to be here, and they're all determined.
And we were talking about this off the air a little bit, but so big for Central Methodist, having been in this position just one season ago, here to try and defend their crown. As a coach, what are you trying to tell your guys going into this moment to not try to hype it up too much, keep them calm, and settle the nerves a little bit?
Yeah, I think for Central Methodist, it's nice that they've been here. They know where to eat. They know what to do on the off days. They felt that Final Four banquet, and to be able to enjoy that last year, it gives it a very easy, smooth transition for this year. For Hastings, it's trying to battle the nerves. It could be very cagey the first couple of minutes. They're the underdog, no doubt about it, and they're the number 15 seed, and so they're going to be battling some nerves.
Even though it's only been 4 seasons since Hastings has been here in the national championship game, nobody on their roster was a part of that 2016 title group. So it's a bunch of unfamiliar faces here to the national spotlight of the 2019 NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship game. As the anthems and the lineups have been announced, we are ready for kickoff between Central Methodist, the champions, and Hastings College, unseeded in the bracket. The Eagles, just one loss this season, 24-1 overall, members of the Heart of America Conference, and the #1 ranked team in the country. Diverse, they can score goals, and they also don't allow many goals. #1 offense, #2 defensively. The only team that's better defensively in the country, they're on the other side of the pitch, and that is Hastings College. But for Central Methodist, you look at their schedule to get to where they're at right now. A lot of convincing victories. A tough one in the semis against Lindsey Wilson, but you score 7 goals in the opening round here at the final site against Georgia Gwinnett. Certainly that's not a bad way to kickstart things here in Irvine as they looked to defend their crown. There's Hastings College. They're in the all-black uniforms tonight, unseeded as they've made it all the way here to California, and what a run it has been for them. The #1 defense in the NAIA with 16 shutouts, and you get a look at what they've done. Low-scoring affairs that win against Columbia. Boy, they had to hold on after 2 early goals. The Cougars came roaring back, but Hastings gave Columbia their only loss of the 2019 season, and those 3 wins, Westmont, William Carey, Columbia, all teams that are ranked inside the top 8 in the NAIA. So they've had to take down the best of the best to get here, and now only one team left in their way, the best, the defending champions in Central Methodist. You see Vince Gillet on your screen right there. He's the goalie for Central Methodist, the defending champions, and there's Callum Watson, the standout midfielder. We talked about him in the opening, back on the pitch after missing the semifinals. He took his 10th yellow card. We're ready to go. Hastings has it first, and they're looking to break on the ball quickly. It's Getz over to Watson. Getz was knocked down, and a foul. So much for that slow start we were talking about off air, where we thought maybe there'd be a feeling out process right away. Hastings goes in on the attack.
Yeah, they're looking to make a statement right off the bat. Watson, a little excited, missed last game. Obviously a physical player getting his 10th yellow card. He took it straight down and drew a great foul. This is a wonderful position for Hastings to be in just a minute into this match.
That's Lukas Getz out of Germany, one of the strikers on this team. He stands at 6 foot tall. He was a little slow to get up, but now he's found his bearings. So a free kick on the way for the Broncos in a great spot. Watson to the left of the ball. To the right is Dan Wheeler. Three players form a wall in front. Boy, what a start this could be for the Broncos. Watson will line it in, and it ricochets off the backside. It looked like of Junior Kazim. That had to have hurt as Aravalo sends one in towards Gillet. He'll punch that one away with those big goalie mitts. All the way out to the midfield, and another turnover. Central Methodist. It'll be played all the way back along to the new goalie for Hastings College. And that's not Jesus Parra, that's Mateo Cuartas, who's in for the first time in the national championship. A little bit of a surprise to see a goalie change. You see Vince Gillet there on your screen. He's no change at all for Central Methodist. The program's leader in several goalie statistics, including wins 49 and shutouts at 33. Just getting started here at the 2019 NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship, as we will take a look at the Central Methodist lineup right here as they'll have a toss, and they'll go with Vince Gillet in goal. He wears number 1. Followed by number 8, Rodrigo Paredes. Number 9, Junior Kazim. Number 10 is Daniel Hernandez. Number 14, Fabio Tarnowski. Number 15, Victor Luengo. Number 16, Christian Sanchez Ortiz. Number 18, Mark Changrati. Number 19, Carlos Scheckerman. Number 20, Marcos Herman. And number 23, Alberto Pangrazzi, as a foul is called against Hastings, and this will set up the Eagles now with a great chance of their own.
I think you're seeing a little bit of an adrenaline rush from Hastings coming out. They're excited. I don't think Central Methodist really expected that, being a really solid defensive team. I think they thought that maybe Hastings would sit a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see what happens off of this Central Methodist free kick.
Well, you could hear the Broncos while they were introducing their starters. Boy, they were loud over there on the sidelines. They wanted everybody all the way back home in Hastings, Nebraska, to hear them from down here in Southern California.
Yeah, we heard they had several viewing parties back home, and they're excited to be here.
A lot of viewing parties back there, and they've got a decent amount of fans that have come out here as well. They have a couple of California boys on the roster, as that one is sent towards the sidelines. 3 minutes into play here in the first half of a scoreless game between Central Methodist and Hastings.
Yeah, you're seeing a wet field, ball slipping, being a little bit quick. It's rained a lot here in Irvine. Games were back on the turf field, and we're just back on the beautiful grass field. It'll be interesting to see how it holds up.
Yeah, so the last couple of days we've been over on the turf field number 12, which is a little bit of a difference for the head coaches, as Alex Nichols is over there on the sideline taking this one all in. As a head coach, and Alex Nichols is Coach of the Year in the Heart of America Conference. He's been stellar with 92 wins so far. How do you prepare these guys to play on turf versus grass? What are some of the big differences?
Yeah, it's the way the ball bounces, the way the ball moves, how you tackle. Especially the difference between a turf field and a grass field. Actually, when turf is wet, it actually plays a little bit more like normal grass, and then when grass is wet, it's really fast. So you're going to probably see a couple of missed traps as the field gets chewed up a little bit. You're going to see probably some tackles that are missed and some slippage.
The good news is that it shouldn't rain tonight unless we go extra long. We'll see if the broadcaster's curse strikes again, but last check of the forecast, it said until about 8 o'clock we were free, as we get a look at the head coach for Hastings College. That is Tim Bonenkamp, the 2018 Great Plains Athletic Conference Coach of the Year. He's in just his second season, and he's already taken his squad all the way to the final site and now a national championship game, as Callum Watson has an advance, and it's broken up by the likes of number 19, Carlos Scheckerman out of Spain. Sliding along the midfield, Central Methodist tried to chip one in towards Kazim. He was pushed off the ball, and now it's recovered by Hernandez. Hernandez will roll one all the way over to the right side of the box. It was Paredes, and it rolls softly over towards the keeper, Cuartas. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for Hastings College as announced by Tim Bonenkamp. He'll go with number 2, Henrik Hafskold. Number 4, Francisco Aravalo. Number 5, Fernando Lisboa. Number 8, Dan Wheeler. Number 10, Callum Watson. Number 15, David Panter. Number 16, Lukas Getz. Number 19, Joe Connolly. Number 20, Will Poynton. Number 24, Nicholas Cudini. And in goal, number 30, Mateo Cuartas. Again, he's making his second start of the season. A bit of a surprise. Not sure if there's an injury or what to Jesus Parra, but we'll talk a lot about Cuartas as the contest rolls along. And, you know, Curtis, just being thrust into a starting role in the national championship, that's got to be nerve-wracking.
That's for sure. He's a senior. He's been around. But no doubt about it, if you've not been the starter between the pipes and now you're called on against the #1 team in the nation, you are a little nervous.
And not just the #1 team in the country, but the #1 team in terms of offense as well, with all the goals that they've scored here this season. 120 goals. It's the best mark in the NAIA, and you go up and down the roster, you got 3 players with at least 11, and you got a guy in Alberto Pangrazzi who's got 23 goals on the season. It's tough to game plan when you have to worry about so many factors.
Yeah, it seems like they're a three-headed monster, and that's difficult to defend.
Right there, Francisco Arevalo, he's a standout defender. Tried to turn one away, but it's kept alive now by Luengo. All the way into the corner. Watson's over there trying to defend, and he'll just tap one over towards the sidelines. He plays it well, however, and he'll get possession back to the Broncos.
I've been impressed with Hastings so far. They're finding their way in this game. They don't seem to be overwhelmed or overmatched, and they've had already a couple of different decent opportunities.
Yeah, there's Callum Watson. He's all over the field for this Hastings squad. 10 goals, 15 assists, and I'm with you, a little bit surprised that Hastings was able to make it to this point without Callum Watson in the semis, going up against an undefeated Columbia Cougar squad, but the offense seemed just fine without him. But you have a guy like that back in the midfield, someone who's probably going to be an All-American, so quick, and he can create so much space out there that you wouldn't think is existing already.
Yeah, he's definitely their leader. You can see that they like finding him on the ball, and he has an engine. He's all over the place.
Francisco Arevalo in the direction of Lucas Getz. It goes a little bit too far. Able to recover is Fabio Tarnowski for the Eagles. Can he send one aside? It'll be headed away out of play by David Panter right there on the sideline. And just over 7 minutes passed so far in the 2019 NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship match. Scoreless between the defending champs, Central Methodist, and the challenger, Hastings College. There's Junior Kazim with it in the midfield. He was a starter on last year's championship squad. 13 different players returning for Central Methodist this season. That experience has got to be so big for team chemistry when you're trying to go back-to-back.
It's amazing to be able to not lose players that have already been here. It goes with the ability to just know what's going to happen and feeling it out, and the chemistry that can happen as a team. To have 13 of those players is a great testimony to a great program.
Now, on your squad for the Masters University, of course you're on the women's side, but how often do you have 13 players come back? I feel like that's a very high number. Maybe it's more so for the men's game, but I feel like that's a little bit out there.
Yeah, it means that they've probably been playing together for the last 4 years, which means that they know each other. They've bled together, they've cried together, they've rejoiced together, and that gives a lot of confidence in a team.
This will be number 16, Christian Sanchez Ortiz on the toss. Flickered away off the header by Pangrazzi, who's going to be a factor for the striker position tonight for the Eagles with his 23 goals, but unable to make a play there. A whistle, and it looks like an offsides is called. So possession will go right back to Hastings. 8:45 gone here in our first half of play, scoreless. The national championship game, Hastings trying to upset the repeat title bid for Central Methodist. They're trying to go back-to-back for the first time in the NAIA since 1999, 2000, and 2001 when Lindsey Wilson College dominated the turn of the century, and they won 3 consecutive titles. Right through the middle is number 8, Dan Wheeler. He had a goal in yesterday's semifinal victory. Now it's out to Callum Watson, and Watson will just patiently lay one in towards his defenders. Cudini turns around in the midfield to Halfscold, who tries to chip one to his left in the direction of Getz. It goes out, right back to the Eagles. It's played.
Yeah, I think you can hear the Central Methodist coach right over there. I don't think they expected Hastings to be as dominant as they've been. It's been a very back and forth game between the 18s, but Hastings seems right in this They're ready to play.
As we look at our matchup of starting goalies, Vince Gillet, you see it there on the screen. He's been one of the best in the country and one of the best in program history at Central Methodist. His numbers this season, 24 wins, giving him 49 all-time. That's the most in program history. He's also been on the books for 11 shutouts this year, and he's got a grand total of 33 in his stellar career. The native of Hungary is an all-conference player in the Heart of America Conference, 0.57 the goals against average for him this season. A slip and a stumble, and there goes Watson down to the turf, but now so too do the Eagles and Tarnowski, so this gives the Broncos another chance to attack. Tapped back over towards Watson. He waits, and then he tried to make a rush, and it's broken up by Victor Luengo. Let's see if Luengo can outrun Watson. That's usually not something that players can do. Watson got in there, tried to give him a little hip check. He's able to do the job and get the ball right back for the Broncos. It just seems like Callum Watson is all over the pitch for Hastings. We've seen it all week long here in Irvine, be it on the turf or be it over here in the soccer stadium. He just, for a midfielder, he seems to be so much more versatile than just a traditional midfielder. As Halfscold has a rush right now, his pass a little bit soft for Panther that was intercepted.
Yeah, so important as a central midfielder when he lost that ball that he tracked it down. It makes your defensive line so secure when you know your midfield is going to get back for you.
Hernandez thought about a cross. Instead, he wanted to go towards Herman. It was a little soft. Ball goes out. Let's see which way they point. And they'll point to possession for the Broncos. 11:30 having transpired here in our first half. This one lofted in. Two players get tangled up, and now Central Methodist will start to settle it down. A team that has only trailed in 2 of its 25 contests this year. They've scored the first goal in a whopping 23 games. And when you score that first goal and you give confidence to your side, especially when you're a defense that doesn't allow anything like Central Methodist, that's got to be a huge security blanket.
Gives you a whole bunch of confidence going forward, knowing that you're safe in the back.
Herman will play for the corner. He got the deflection off the side of Fernando Lisboa, and so now we'll have our contest's first corner kick. Central Methodist will walk it over towards the corner. It's Victor Luengo who will take this one. The sophomore midfielder out of Madrid, Spain. Second team all-conference in the Heart.
Be interesting to see how the backup goalie handles this first corner kick. A lot of tangling up there in the box.
A lot of players in the way. You can see some pushing and shoving. A lot of white jerseys there as well as it's sent towards the back of the box. Knocked away off the header of Will Poynton. And Panther tried to let one free. It goes out. This will be a goal kick and a perfect chance for us to talk about Mateo Cuartas out of Medellin, Colombia. He went to the Columbus school, and he's primarily been the penalty kick goaler this season for Hastings College. Again, we're not sure if there's an injury or what to Jesus Parra, but the decision to go with Cuartas, he is a senior. He stands at 5'10". Certainly some nerves running through his body as he's only seen about 100 minutes of action so far on the campaign, but if you have the confidence to turn to a backup goalie in a national championship match, that must say a lot about how Tim Bonnekamp feels about his senior goalie.
It does, and that gives your goalkeeper confidence as well, which is a big part of being a goalkeeper.
Looked like he got a ricochet off of Panther, and it did, so possession goes back to Central Methodist on this breezy night here in Irvine, California. Cuartas with his 3rd appearance on the year, 1st in the tournament. So far he hasn't been tested yet, but the Eagles seem like they're patiently plotting as they send one across the pitch in the direction of Hernandez. It goes a little bit too far. And so it goes back to the Broncos, and I would say so far here in the first 14, 15 minutes of play, it seems like the Eagles have been the team that's been a little bit more timid.
I would agree with that, and I don't know if that's the energy level coming from the bench, but you can definitely hear the Hastings bench, and Central Methodist bench seems quiet. Here we go.
There's Kazim. He got one around Cuartas, but nobody else was there to finish, and it went wide of the post.
Really good goalkeeping, though. He really shut that angle down and made it difficult. You saw the defenders going back, framing the goal, making it small.
We've seen all tournament long the ability for goalies to come out and take away those angles as we get another look. Boy, that ball landed right at the feet of Kazim. And coming out to make the nice play on it was Cuartas. So there's that first challenge we were waiting for. And he stands the test and keeps us scoreless. 15 minutes into play here in the national championship. Another rush for the Eagles. Hernandez ahead towards Kazim. He stays onside. Let's go. A shot. It bends in the net. Fool me once, shame on you. Not going to be fooled again. Junior Kazim comes through with his 8th of the year, and it's a 1-0 advantage for the champs.
Well, we'll see how Hastings responds to that. I think they just got punched in the nose.
Hernandez, a force on the pitch, comes through with his 10th assist, 44th point of the year, and Kazim his 8th goal. And right after we just got through talking about how Quartas had been able to stand tall off that first rush, he couldn't beat the second one. A well-executed shot by Kazim.
Yeah, it really was. His angle was a little bit wrong, though, as well. But that backside ball, here we go with Hastings, same decent ball.
Panter in, stopped by Gillette.
Yeah, anytime you can get that backside ball behind that outside back with the forward running in, it's dangerous.
So a 1-0 edge for Central Methodist as they score first for the 24th time this season. They have not been shut out, again taking just one loss during the season. That was a 2-1 defeat to then 14th ranked Bellevue all the way back on September 7th. And a lot of their lower scoring performances came early in the season. I know, Curtis, you were talking about it before we went on the air in preparation for this, but all of their, I guess, poorer offensive performances came in the month of September, even in the month of August. They started their season with a 1-0 win against William Woods, but then after that, once their matchup against Roosevelt passed on the 14th of September, everything after that, 2 or more goals.
Yeah, you know, sometimes that happens with a lot of international players. They all go home to the foreign countries. There's certain styles that are going on. It takes a little bit of time to get back and be cohesive with what the coach wants.
Yeah, so as a coach, how do you try and put everything together? Is it just a thing where time is going to be the difference?
You know, you have good players, right? The recruit wins championships, but it does take time to get a cohesiveness together as a team. And especially with the international flair, there are different styles you're trying to blend together, and they have to submit to one another.
Houdini tries to keep one afloat for the Broncos. Over in the corner, the closest Hastings player there is Henrik Hafskold. The ball will roll lifelessly over out of bounds. And this one, we'll get another look at the goal here that was scored. Hernandez, look at that feed into Kazim and the angle. The shot, no chance for Quartas.
It's good, low across frame. Keep it low, it'll go.
And think about that for Kazim as well. He's been in the starting lineup a decent amount this season, but Kazim is making his first start here in the national championship and just his 14th of the year. So he comes in, his coach puts him in the lineup, and right away, 16 minutes in, he scores a goal. Not bad.
You love that as a coach. It makes you feel like a hero. You made a good decision that really affected the game.
The ball rallied all the way over towards Mateo Quartas, and this 1-0 score. Hernandez the assist, and Junior Kazim his 8th goal of the year, and a 1-0 lead for Central Methodist here in the 2019 NAIA National Championship game. Kazim with it again, sends one to the middle in the direction of Hernandez, tries to set it down, now has space, takes a shot and flips it wide right.
All of that comes from really poor goalkeeping distribution, though. He throws a hand grenade to his outside midfielder and gets picked, and they start the other way. He needs to clean that up.
We'll get another look at what just happened. Talk about what you're telling me right here.
Yeah, low across frame. That's where you want to shoot.
Herman has it for the Eagles. Tries to thread through a pair, and Watson picks him off, and now he'll try to send one through towards Getz. Getz gave a shove towards the backside of Tarnowski. Now it's Watson with it again. Watson lofted over towards Getz. Takes an extra step. The ball deflected over the crossbar. Corner kick on the way for the Broncos. A pretty good response.
It is. It's been a good response from Hastings. I think the goal is a little unfortunate for them. They've been in this game. Let's see over the next 5 to 10 minutes, can they put something together? If you don't, Central Methodist is a team that can really punish you.
Closing in right there was Tarnowski on defense, so this sets up the corner. It'll be taken on the far side by Callum Watson. 5th in the NAIA with 15 assists this season. We've seen on a couple of occasions set pieces. They've been key for the Broncos as it's sent into the box, knocked away. Looked like they were trying to go towards Lisboa on that one. Hafskold races over, keeps it in play in the corner, shoves his man. It was Luengo now into the box and headed away towards the sideline. Luengo volleys it out of play. Now another good chance for the Broncos as they have it deep in their attacking third. 25 minutes, 35 seconds left to play here in the opening half. 64 degrees here in Irvine, a calm night as the ball goes over the crossbar off that little swat from Gillet, and another corner kick on the way.
Good goalkeeping, playing it safe, give them a corner.
Vince Gillet knows this scene well. He was the starting goalie last year for Central Methodist when they were here in the national championship. Had to make some PK stops to win it last year as well, as they took down Missouri Valley College in PKs. Ball deflects off the side of Kudini, and this will result in a goal kick. So Vince Gillet lines this one up. Interesting note on Vince Gillet, where he went to school at. He went to school with the two richest men in Hungary. Now, not at the same time, of course, but to the exact same institution. Sandor Demjan and Sandor Ciani, the two richest men in Hungary in terms of net worth, and they both went to the Budapest Business School. So kind of a little fun honor for Vince Gillet to say he went to the same school as the two wealthiest men in his home country.
Yeah, for sure. We had a guy from Hungary on our team, Palandriska, and I doubt he went to that school.
Not a glowing compliment of him, I see.
Oh, he was a great guy. He was a fun character on our team.
A lot of international kids on the pitch here tonight. It's just so fun to see the melting pot of players come together at this level. 11 different countries represented on the Hastings squad, and there are only 3 kids from the United States for Central Methodist. So you get a sense of how international this game really is and how it's the most popular worldwide. It all comes together here in Southern California.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful game. Brings a lot of people out of poverty. There's a foul right there, sets up a really dangerous situation.
It's Christian Sanchez Ortiz, the one who was slow to get up off the contact with the Broncos. As the clock continues to roll with 23:20 left to go in our opening half. Great opportunity for Central Methodist to continue to put some pressure on Quartas and get the sense that if there's another one on frame, he needs to stop this one, especially early in this contest. It's Luengo lined up over the ball. Luengo, second on the team in assists. He has 12. It's usually either Herman or Luengo to take these kicks, and last year in the championship it was Luengo. Into the box, a lot of traffic. It's knocked away towards the penalty arc, and the Broncos are able to clear. That was Wheeler. Wheeler pushes down Luengo. A slide, and it's broken up. Nicely played defensively by Changradi. Sent one back towards the box. Aravalo was right there to send one away. Kept alive by Herman. Herman long-range shot, and it sails right over the crossbar.
When you can start getting your outside backs that have the field getting shots, you become really dangerous. Start overloading sides.
Almost looked like Quartas maybe just a little bit late to react to that one, as here's the shot by Herman. Well, that was close. If that one's a little bit lower, I think there was some room to sneak in below the bottom of the crossbar.
Yeah, you can feel the game just shifting a little bit to Central Methodist. I think they've kind of taken the ebb and flow of this.
Yeah, that first ebb completely in favor of Hastings, and then the flow happens. And then it goes over towards Central Methodist. They score the goal, and now it's been all Eagles since that point. And maybe now you get a sense that Hastings is starting to tighten up a little bit, as opposed to starting tight, playing loose. They're almost going in the other direction.
Yeah, there are moments that you're down 1-0. Sometimes as a team, let's not concede again. 2-0 is a massive difference. So you can feel a little bit of the nerves, though, right? Hastings' bench is a lot quieter. The energy level has dropped a bit. Hastings needs to create something here.
I think it's even a little more important. You talk about that second goal that Central Methodist would love to score. The Eagles have only allowed 3 goals once this season. So you're not going to score 3 goals on them in the national championship game.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of confidence to be able to go fair. You get that second goal, and it's pretty much a win. Which means that Hastings really does need to tighten up these next 20 minutes. It's okay to go in halftime 1-0.
We'll see our first substitutions of the contest. This will be Hastings bringing a new player on, and it's Tom Stegging as Stegging replaces Henrik Hafskol. Stegging, he wears number 7, and he is a native of Liverpool, England, a transfer from West Virginia Tech. West Virginia Tech made it into the opening rounds. They were unable to make it all the way here to Irvine. Stellar soccer program over there as well. Stegging had an opportunity and lost it to Kazim. Here comes Kazim. He's got the goal already for the Eagles, and he tries to spread one all the way across. It was broken up on the tackle by Lisboa.
Yeah, what makes the Cinderella story so great for Hastings is they came in as a 3 seed.
Yeah.
And the new format this year, that means they had to go on the road and play back-to-back games, win both of those, and then make it to the final side. That's just really impressive.
Yeah, William Penn was the 14 seed, and they had to go through that bracket, which is very tough considering that Hastings was the number 15 seed in the country, as that ball was shouldered by Pangrazzi, and it went over towards Quartas. Not fully sure the logistics about how they determined the brackets, but it was a little funny to see Hastings that far down. But they took care of business. They got past Friends University 2-0 in the first contest, then playing back-to-back days. The next day they had to take down William Penn, and they did so in penalty kicks. So think about how different this tournament would be if William Penn had hit a couple more PKs. We'd be talking about a completely different championship match, as Paredes is there, lays one to Kazim. Kazim hesitates, moves right, tries to find an angle. It's not there. It's defended well by Lisboa. Kazim, and that's going to go over the cage.
Yeah, it's interesting. So the seating in the NAIA is not always the most accurate because you have to factor in so many different things, being smaller universities, cost, travel. At the NAIA, there really desires to have fewer flights. And so you work really hard to get as true of a seating as you possibly can, but you have other things that work into it as well.
Victor Luengo comes off for Central Methodist, and you saw Luke Alvarez check on there on your screen. He's a native of France. He'll play in the midfield in place of Luengo, and he's one of the seniors on this squad for head coach Alex Nichols. Cudini and Paredes get into a little bit of a shoving match. It's won by Cudini momentarily. The ball now ricochets back and forth over there on the far side of the field before a whistle is blown and a foul is called against the Broncos. Just 18 minutes and 10 seconds left to go in our opening half of play, as it's Paredes still a little bit slow to get up. But now he's good to go, and we've played already 27 minutes here in this opening half, and I'd say the pitch is holding up pretty well so far.
Looks great. I think anybody would be satisfied playing down there.
We saw a little bit of slipping and sliding early, but it seems like players now know what to expect, so they're able to kind of find themselves a little bit, be more cautious if they need to be, but they can make the proper cuts. And you know, we talked about this earlier, but it kind of feels like a Midwest game a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. Probably a little bit more of an early October Midwest game, but the wetness on the field, a little bit of humidity in the air, but it's it has a feel of a West Coast or a Midwest game rather than a West Coast game with precipitation.
Yeah, I like that you put in there that it had to be like an October Midwest game, because last year Hastings hosted an opening round against Rocky Mountain College. They lost 3-2, but they had to play in a blizzard last year. It was about 6 inches of snow that came down in Hastings, and they said, you know what, game on. We're going to play, and I don't know how you score 5 goals in a blizzard, but there were 5 goals in that game, and unfortunately for the Broncos, they came out on the wrong side of that 3-2 decision. But yeah, I'm sure they'll take this California weather over playing back home in Hastings.
I think anybody would. I wish some more fans come out here to enjoy it because it's beautiful weather.
So far, the Broncos down to the #1 offense in the NAIA, 120 goals for Central Methodist. And you look at the goals per game, you start talking about some of the numbers. 4.8 goals per game, a mark that ranks 3rd in the country. #2 in assists with 93. And you got guys who light up the scoreboard with points. I mean, countless guys who have 20 or more on the season. Pangrazzi, 51 points. 44 now for Hernandez after his assist on the Kazim goal. And then you got 20-plus points for Paredes, Kazim, Luengo, Scheckerman, Herman. It just doesn't stop with this Central Methodist offense. Swung along towards Francisco Arevalo, the captain of the team for Hastings College. Stegging can't keep one in play, and this goes back to Central Methodist. Second ever trip to the national championship for Hastings, or for Central Methodist. For Hastings, this is their 15th trip to the national championship. Both teams have won titles here before. Last year in Irvine, Central Methodist doing the job in their first ever trip, and the most recent title for Hastings 4 years ago in 2016. As Pangrazzi shuffles one to his right, he's got Hernandez. Now he'll let go a long-range shot, and that one soars onto the walkway behind the goal.
You can tell they've done their homework on Pangrazzi. They've shut him down well. I think a little bit of the problem with Central Methodist is they have more than just one player who can score.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and Hernandez is one of those, and look at all that space that Poynton gave him to let go that shot. I suppose the only bit of good news there is that you still had one defender in front, you had the goalie, and he was a long ways away. So
yeah, they need to definitely close that shot down. You can't keep allowing forwards who know how to score goals, shots like that.
Here's Paredes with it, pressured by Cudini. Turns around and now he'll slide one ahead towards Hernandez. Hernandez waits. He had Connolly working on him, and now that's Poynton who pointed one away in the box. Now he'll get another chance, and he'll just launch that one clear. Play has really been exclusively on that left side of the pitch, the attacking half for Central Methodist now ever since Kazim got his goal. Kazim broke the scoreless tie and has put us at the 1-0 score that you see there on the scoreboard. 14 minutes left to play. Kazim wants another one, deflected by Quartas, and he's able to recover it.
Good save. That's a game changer right there.
He almost wasn't tall enough. He was fully outstretched on the leap, and Quartas almost saw it go right through his mitts like we saw with Andre Vidali back in the quarterfinals when Missouri Valley got knocked out of the tournament on the only goal scored by Lindsey Wilson College in that contest. It was raining over there on the turf fields, and Andre Vidali just saw one go right through his mitts. A tough way to get knocked out of a tournament, but a very similar one almost happened right there. Fortunately for Quartas and for the Broncos, it went straight down as opposed to actually going through his mitts and over his shoulder.
Yeah, he got enough on it to just parry it away. It's a tough tackle.
Kazim was upended by Aravalo, and now we'll get a late whistle. And I think they're going to call a foul on that spot as Aravalo gets a talking to by our referee.
Dangerous set piece.
Let's get a second look at that tackle.
Yeah, it's amazing. Defenders feel like they never foul.
Isn't that funny how that works out? Defenders feel like they never foul, and strikers feel like they always get fouled, right?
Amen to that. Depends on what side of the ball you're on.
Now, what position did you play?
I was a number 10. I was an offensive center mid, so I could get a little bit away with both of that.
You kind of have experience on both sides of that coin. With 12 and a half left to play, 1-0, and a free kick from a very good spot. Hugging the sideline over there are the Eagles. They'll crash here in a moment. Directing traffic there is Hernandez, and Hernandez bends one towards the back post. Knocked away at first by Quartas, and then cleaning up is Joe Connolly. He works one free, and now we'll see substitutions for both sides. For Central Methodist, number 11, Guzman Perry is on, and Sean Grady comes on. Tyrone Madani comes on for Hastings as that ball sent back into the box, knocked away. Perhaps a second chance that's snuffed out. And now here comes Stegging. And let's see if he can get a little bit of a rush with some real estate. He finds Getz. Getz has to hesitate a little bit just to stop it. And now he goes back towards the midfield stripe.
If they can swing this ball to the other side, they have an opportunity here.
Getz cutting back to the right. And the opposite direction that Curtis Lewis wants them to play it. Now it's back towards the midfield stripe, Lisboa. Off his head, and the Eagles will send one out towards the midfield. It's hugged back towards the end where we are here in the broadcast booth. Wheeler has a lane, had a man slip. Now back to the right again, Stegging. Stegging's got a pair of helpers in this tournament. Can he let go across? Waits, deflected, almost a handball. Kept in play. Getz will send one across, and there's the attempt deflected, and out it goes. It was Alvarez who had that one ricochet off the shot by Madani.
creative. You know, Watson has, we haven't said his name much lately. I think at the beginning of the game he was all over the ball. He's finding himself a little bit more in the false nine, which is more of a goal-scoring situation, but he's not getting the ball as much.
We'll try to have him feed one into the box for somebody else to score here on this corner kick. Watson works quickly, bends one in towards Gillet. He punches it to the heavens. Kazim has it go down off his shin. Back towards the end line. Alvarez tries to shield off Lisboa. Does just that. A goal kick is on the way, and now more substitutions. Two more subs for the Eagles. 17 and 25 are coming on. 17 is Jayden Johnson, who we've seen start every contest so far in the national tournament. And number 25, Hian Marquez comes on as well. He's out of Brazil. Marquez at 6'4", 210 pounds to add some more size up there on the front lines for the Eagles. The one thing that we haven't seen yet in this tournament is Pangrazzi and Marquez out there at the same time. You'd have 6'4" and 6'3". Now that would be some size.
It's hard as a center backs to deal with that.
Fortunately for the Broncos, they have a couple of the best in Poynton and Arevalo. The ball ricochets to the sidelines. And we'll see another throw in here for the Eagles with 9 minutes and 20 seconds left to play here in our opening half. A 1-0 advantage for Central Methodist University as they try to go back-to-back in the national championship. Jayden Johnson will have the toss. Johnson is out of Columbia, Missouri. He's the lone player from the states that we have seen start in this tournament as he fired it in with his little flip, some slipping in the box. Taking a shot is Herman, and it bends wide right. A lot of traffic there to try and thread that one through.
Yeah, it is, but sometimes you take that shot because there's a lot of traffic. It can get a deflection. The goalie is blocked. They can't see a lot.
As we've seen a lot of times in this tournament, Curtis, the deeper you get in, the tougher it is to make that last shot. Central Methodist, they do a pretty good job of it typically, and that's why they're 9-0 all-time in the NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship. They've never lost here in Irvine, as a matter of fact. Just 2 trips unbeaten to this juncture as that ball sent in towards the post, and Cuartas is able to evade traffic and get in there to stop it.
That's an impressive statistic, being here and not losing, and also gives you lots of confidence.
And then when you play with a lead, even better. Here's Paredes. To the left, it's dished. All the way over towards Marquez. Had some space for a moment. It closes up. Taps one ahead. Arevalo off of him. Recovers. All the way to the top of the arc. Paredes lets it go. And it's in the net. Rodrigo Paredes with his 12th of the year. And the Eagles have a 2-0 advantage. What vision by Marquez to send one all the way up top. How did it find Paredes?
It's great. You're at the right space, a good 45, and a late arrival to the box. That's what Michael Bradley does for the U.S. soccer team. Excellent finish.
We thought for a second that Marquez would just take the initial shot. He had a lane, and then he decided to be a little bit more patient with it. Almost got a corner out of it, and then somehow found Paredes up at the top of the arc and made it a 2-0 advantage. So Marquez picks up his 6th assist of the season, all coming off the bench. And Paredes has his 12th goal of the season, 3rd most on the Eagles, and they now have a 2-0 advantage here, still in the first half, with now 7 minutes and 24 seconds left to play in the national championship, the first half.
Referee's doing a good job managing this game. He could have given a card for that. Studs came over the ball, and it can get a little chippy here for Hastings, a little frustrated. You recognize you're down 2-0, starting to see your senior year disappear.
Yeah, down 2-0, knowing that the half is also over, almost over as well. Probably plays a role in that too, doesn't it? We'll see what happens right here is it's put back towards where the official is pointing Vince Gillet to do it. I thought for a second that maybe Tarnowski was taking a kick, but no, we'll see Gillet do it instead. The Eagles love to have Vince Gillet and his powerful right leg just shoot him all the way down towards the box. He does so there, off the side of the head of Marquez. And now it's Stegging. Wheeler up ahead, stumbled, broken up. Herman with a nice play, kept it at his feet, and then kept it in play until Stegging knocked it out. And Now it's going to be Herman who will toss this one back in. 9-3, the shot difference already in this contest for Central Methodist. None on frame for Hastings. And that is a foul. The whistle blew, and for a second it looked like our referee was going to reach in the pocket for a yellow. He still might on Kudini.
Yeah, he will. He needs to pull one out here, or it's going to get a little chippy. That's what happens when frustration comes out. You can talk only so much. It's going to keep happening until the card comes out.
It's Paredes who is rolling around in some pain. Kudini came up from behind. Now the clock stops. Perhaps now the magic word said by Kudini. Not sure what it was, as our referee now will walk over and check on Paredes with 6:02 left.
Yeah, it's probably important to hand that yellow card out with kind of how the game can be managed.
So Kudini picks up the yellow. That is his 4th yellow card of the season. Good news for Hastings, no one in danger of having too many yellows that they'd have to come out. Of course, it doesn't matter with this being the last game of the season. You could take a couple of yellows, although the second you're out with the red card. So we've seen that happen a couple of times in this tournament already. We saw one in the second round, and we saw one in the quarterfinals as well, as it's sent back in, deflected off the legs of Parra. Second shot rattled around. Now it's in the net. But it looks like there's going to be an offsides call to cancel out everything. The ball's already been put back into play by the Broncos. I imagine they'll make them reset this, as it would have been about a 4-on-2 rush going the other way. It would have been the 3rd goal of the game for the Eagles, but an offsides was called, I think, probably before even the second shot was taken, but no one seemed to realize. So a little bit of confusion stops the clock with 5:47 left. Now it's put back into play, and the Broncos can breathe a sigh of relief. The deficit still stands at just 2 goals. Waiting for it to come down there in the midfield was Madani. The ball out, and now it goes right back to Central Methodist. They're now up to a whopping 11 shots as we get a second look at all this chaos. I'm surprised it didn't go in until that last look by Hernandez.
Yeah, I think number 6 was in an offsides position and just couldn't get out of the way, interfered with the goalkeeper.
Another look in the box, and you got one chance right there by Marquez. A second one coming in there in Sanchez-Ortiz.
8 right there is the one he called offsides, interfering with that keeper, offsides position.
A tough break for Central Methodist, but they still have the 2-0 advantage. Goals from Kazim and Paredes put them up 2-0 and given them a great chance to defend their national championship. The Broncos, we've seen them so far. They've been in this tournament one of the grittiest teams out there. They have not quit in any match. True, they've been playing from ahead, but they've been out there fighting hard to the final whistle in every single contest, and that's what you have to do when you're unseeded and trying to upset a bunch of teams. As Stegging comes in, out of position, perhaps miscommunication with Watson. But now Wheeler gets it right back off a friendly roll. Watson was open on the far side. If Wheeler could have gotten it there, he didn't. And now up on the rush is Guzman Perry. He'll send one all the way across. And Quartas is right there. Watson in the midfield for the Broncos. Comes to us from Chelmsford, England. All-conference player in the Great Plains Athletic Conference. As you mentioned earlier, Curtis, it really seems like they've gotten away from getting him involved offensively, and perhaps that's something they'll need to adjust in 3 minutes and 40 seconds once they go into the locker room at half.
Yeah, it is, and credit Central Methodist for really being a part of taking him out. They've been controlling the ball, they've been in the attacking third, and they've been having to pull him all the way back, so he's getting the ball really deep. They really need to get him more in the center of the park so he can be the man who pulls the strings for them.
Yeah, all the pressure that the Eagles have applied so far, 5 shots on goal, none so far for Hastings. A little bit surprising to see that kind of discrepancy in a championship match between two teams who have been on their A game so far to get to the last game of the season here on this December 7th, 6 days later than we were last year when we wrapped up the season on December 1 with the Eagles winning in PKs over the Vikings. It's in, and Quartas comes all the way out, comes to a screeching halt as he pulled that one away from Hernandez. So the Broncos, do they have time for any types of rushes left with 2:40 to go? They have to worry about another one going in the back of the net perhaps here for the Eagles. A whistle blows, and that's going to be a foul against Marquez. And now the clock stops again. 2:31 to go, and it's Guzman Perry who goes over, and he'll have a few words with our referee. So Quartas, the line drive ahead as we get a look at this last free kick opportunity that was taken into the scrum here, Central Methodist. That caused that offsides. Once again, you can see right there, it's Paredes who's just behind everything, and that's what they call. Now we got a yellow card over here on number 16, Christian Sanchez Ortiz. While we were showing that highlight, there was a little bit of some pushing and shoving going on just outside the center circle.
Yeah, he got the yellow card for knocking the ball away after the whistle had blown. A little bit of frustration, kind of a dumb yellow card to get.
6th yellow of the season on Sanchez Ortiz. Now a lot of hollering in the box for the Eagles as they try to defend this attack by the Broncos with 2:25 left to play. Watson will send it all the way in as the players crash. Knocked away by Tarnowski off the header, all the way outside the box. And now recovered, and the Eagles break it ahead on a rush. Watson gets tangled, down to the ground, a foul. It's against Jayton Johnson, and this will now set up the Broncos in a pretty good spot. And really, if anything, Curtis, they just need to keep the ball down here in this area for the final 2 minutes of play, regardless of whether they score, but just generate some type of pressure and momentum going into the break.
Yeah, going in the break, having a little bit of a momentum swing back your way is important. Gives yourself a little bit of a breather at halftime, allows you to have a little bit of confidence saying we can get this done.
Watson rolls one ahead to Wheeler. Wheeler in the midfield, pressured by Marquez. A bit of a size mismatch there with Marquez at 6'4". Wheeler back in. He was dispossessed by Sanchez Ortiz, fresh off his yellow, and now it's all the way out towards midfield. And again, the Eagles wait with 80 seconds left to play in the first half. Into the middle. Perry chips one ahead. He's got a man. It's Johnson, and it's in the net. 8th goal of the year, 3rd of the half, and Johnson sellies with a backflip. It's 3-0 Eagles.
Well, if anything of Central Methodist, that's game over unless they do something they've not done all year long.
Jayton Johnson got a beautiful feed into the box, and on one touch, he did not miss. They announced it backwards as a goal for Perry and an assist by Johnson. But it's the goal for Johnson, Perry on the assist, who gets his second helper. And what a first half by the defending champions. You really couldn't have drawn it up any better than this with just 60 seconds left to go.
Especially when your leading goal scorer hasn't scored.
Yeah, that's true. We featured Pangrazzi in the opening, and he's been quiet so far. It's been everybody else getting involved as that one's sent into the box and headed away by Scheckerman. Out towards the center circle. Johnson tried to play one to himself off a ricochet. Didn't work. Now Watson chips one in just to try and put some pressure on Gillet. And he plays it off his chest with 30 seconds left. Now he'll wait and pick it up with Getz streaking in.
Yeah, it's a confident goalkeeper.
Let's take a look at it again right here. You see the feed in by Perry. A beautiful ball that met the feet of Johnson. That's just perfect execution, Coach.
Great volley. It's difficult. He's moving, running towards it. Excellent celebration. He's done that before.
Yeah, I think that's a 10 out of 10 on the celebration. As Scheckerman plays one out towards Wheeler. That was close to a handball. Wheeler needs to let one go. Gillet sends it away, and Stegging had a chance, but he just missed it. And the horn sounds, signaling the end of our first half.
Man, Hastings needed that. That would have been a little bit of lifeline for them.
But instead, it's 3-0 at the half. 3 goals scored by Central Methodist, and none of them by Alberto Pangrazzi. The first goal, Junior Kazim off the helper from Hernandez. The second was Rodrigo Paredes, assisted by Hian Marquez. And the third coming just moments ago with Jayton Johnson finding the back of the net off the feed from Guzman Perry. And as we've played 45 minutes here in the national championship game, Vince Gillet and the Eagles, a shutout and a commanding 3-0 lead. When we come on back after this commercial break, we'll play some highlights from the first half, and we'll get you all set up for half number 2. You're watching the 2019 NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship presented by the Anaheim Ducks and Memorial Care on ESPN. Welcome back to the OC Great Park here in Irvine, California, where it's been all Central Methodist so far. 3-0 in the national championship game over Hastings College. And Coach Lewis, a very dominant first half, to say the least, by the champs.
Yeah, I mean, the first 15 minutes I felt Hastings was here. They were not only participating, but really in this game. But you started to see the class, and after that first goal, great strike, low across frame, the game started turning.
Yeah, off that goal by Junior Kazim, it was his 8th goal of the season. It gave us a 1-0 advantage about 15, 16 minutes in, and that's the point right there where it started to turn, and Hastings it seemed like they tightened up and they weren't playing as loose as we saw early on.
They did.
See right here in the box, another opportunity for Central Methodist that was turned away. A lot of pressure late in that first half. Everything was down there on that half of the pitch. One of the few opportunities here for Hastings that they weren't able to cash in on.
Yeah, there were a couple times they had a couple of corner kicks that they were able to get in, but really in the run of play, Central Methodist has really kind of stymied the Hastings offense. Watson wasn't getting on the ball enough. If he's your number one player, he has all of your assists. He wasn't on the ball enough.
We also pointed out a few times how you saw shots like that. Herman taking long-range ones. Hernandez. A lot of space being given by the Hastings defenders. I think that's something they're going to also have to tighten up here in the second half, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, like another great shot. They're just pinging the ball around. They're getting shots. They're feeling good. You know, there wasn't much midfield happening for Hastings. There was a big gap between their back line and their forward line. A lot of that was Watson was getting so high and then not getting the ball. I think he needs to drop back as a true number 10, get the ball on, and try and move it.
Now that was a nice save by Quartas, one of the few that he made in the first half, and certainly not the best way to start off when you're thrust into the starting lineup for the first time. What do you think is going through his mind at the intermission?
Yeah, you know, I think the whole back line, your back line includes your goalkeeping, and when you bring someone in that's only had 100 minutes, that changes a ton. They have not looked like the best defense in the country right now.
Now here was the second goal. Marquez keeping one in play, and then the beautiful thread up top to Paredes. That's some great field vision to see him up there.
Awesome field vision, great play, fantastic shot outside of his right boot to the left, to the goalie's right. Fantastic goal.
That was the second goal. It made it 2-0. It was the 12th of the year for Paredes. And then this absolute chaos in front of Quartas eventually was ruled offsides. At first, it seemed like it would be a big break for Hastings, but then the Eagles came right back and they deposited their third into the back of the net.
They did. I think you're seeing just a little bit of the class of Central Methodist, the confidence. They've been here last year. They won it last year.
And here is that third goal.
Beautiful.
What a ball into Jayton Johnson. And how about one more time? Can we get the celebration? This just breaks my back thinking about it. Jayton Johnson, 10 out of 10, a perfect 30 all the way across,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
As we continue on with our halftime here at the OC Great Park, 8 minutes are left on the clock. We will head back to a commercial break, and when we return, statistics, half number 1 on the NAIA networks and ESPN. Back to halftime here on ESPN. It's a 3-0 Central Methodist lead over Hastings College at the halftime. And a half that's been completely dominated by Central Methodist statistically and with the eye test as well, as they've outshot the Broncos by a tally of 12-3 and 6-1 on frame so far. We take a look at the brackets and how we've gotten to this point so far in the national championship, and really we've seen a lot of tightly contested matchups all the way through. It began with Rio Grande and the University of Northwestern Ohio all the way back on Monday in a 2-1 Racers upset win over the Red Storm, and since then really it's almost been kind of a true test. The teams we thought would win have kind of made it all the way through. We set up the quarterfinals on a rainy Wednesday where Central Methodist and Lindsey Wilson College won first, and then in the nightcaps, Columbia College and Hastings cemented their spots in the semifinals. In the semis, a 2-0 shutout win for Central Methodist, back-to-back 2-0 shutout wins for them as they were able to get past Lindsey Wilson College and just completely neutralize their offense and their best player in Akeem Shackelford. And then on the other side, Hastings, they scored twice early, and then they were able to fend off a rush from Columbia and win by a final of 2-1 to get us to where we are here in the national championship. And now, as you know, Curtis, we've made it all the way through, and you've been playing for a week so far. How does that start to wear on you when you're in one place for a whole week, and now this is the 5th game for some of these teams?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a long time away from home, your own bed, finals week.
Welcome back to the OC Great Park here in Irvine, California. Second half action about set to get underway. Central Methodist enjoying a 3-0 edge after the first 45 minutes. Brian Brownfield alongside Curtis Lewis here for the second half. And Coach, in the locker room, certainly a difficult conversation probably to have for Hastings, but what are you talking about to try and rally your troops and get them focused through the second 45?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, you take the pressure off of it. Guys, this game's probably lost. Let's go out here and represent well. Let's be who we are and allow us to just really focus in on play Hastings soccer.
Now, on the other side for Central Methodist, you have the 3-0 lead. You really seem to do everything well there in that first half. Is there anything you're trying to change up?
Yeah, don't get complacent. You know, one of the worst things in soccer is the ebb and flow, and you get complacent, you lose, you know, you get one scored, two scored, and some of the game gets a little bit away from you. You've been in this situation a lot. You're up 3-0. Enjoy the moment and do what we do best.
Take a look at the numbers from the first half. 12-3 the shot difference for Central Methodist, and really in the final 30 minutes of that first half, they just controlled everything on their half of the pitch. Shots on goal in favor of the Eagles, 6-1. There were 3 saves made by Mateo Cortes, but he also allowed 3 goals. Fouls, Central Methodist with 14 in the first half, just 6 against Hastings. Hastings has a yellow, Central Methodist with a yellow as well. The yellow over there for delay of play. And corners in favor of Hastings with a 3-1 advantage there. The ball finally put back into play and now whistled dead before it even entered the box on an Eagles foul there amongst the scrum of players. So now as the second half begins for Hastings College, the message, I feel like, as Coach Lewis said, is simple. Represent your team and your college well, but you know, you just got to get the ball on the offensive side for a little bit here in the second half and start to mount something. And let's go all the way across the pitch every now and again as well. They've really been hugging it along one corner of the field, and I think a lot of that, Coach, has to do with the fact that they haven't been playing a lot of Callum Watson in the midfield. He's so good at dispersing it left and right, but it's been trapped on one side, and they haven't gotten him involved.
They have. They're not changing the point of attack, which is so important, especially spread out of back four, create 1v1 situations. They're just not spreading the field and changing the point. This ball should go to the other side.
Trying to work it that way with Halfscold, but then Halfscold plays it right back to the left, stagging there, and it's knocked away by the Eagles to the sideline, kept in by Paredes. Halfscold to the middle, knocked away, Kudini recovers. There's the ball to the other side, but slipping over there was Watson, and now intercepting is Herman. And Herman streaks ahead. He's got a lane. He'll let one go into the box. He's looking for Kazim, punched away by Cortes. Here comes Paredes, a shot deflected off the header by Pangrazzi, and it misses wide left.
Yeah, one of the keys for Hastings is going to have to be switching the ball, especially if Watson, your best player, is getting out to the wings. You have to find him. You should be looking for him on every single opportunity. He has 17 assists on the year. He needs to get the ball more.
Almost a quick strike counter by Central Methodist going the other way. Herman putting a nice ball into the box, and once it got all the way up top towards Paredes once again, very interesting that he shot right at Pangrazzi. He almost had a little hockey redirect back the other way across the goal.
He did. We call that framing the goal, just getting in the way of the goalkeeper and being an obstacle.
They're along the midfield. The Broncos, they try to get a little bit of possession, but the Eagles swarm in. Paredes lofting one over towards junior Kazim. Kazim being shielded off the ball by Poynton, and this will result in a goal kick on the way for Cortes. Get a second look at that last look when it came all the way up top to Paredes. Oh, that header by Pangrazzi was almost nasty.
It's a true goal scoring forward, right place, right time. He almost put that in with his head.
Yeah, off the shot, I was thinking a little bit to myself, like, why is he shooting over there? But that's why he was a designed look to try and go towards Pangrazzi. And you know, you mentioned it in the first half, Curtis, that they were very quiet and not trying to get the ball to number 23 for the Eagles. They were using all their other goal scorers.
Yeah, you know, sometimes when you have such a great player, people really focus in on the main act, which really opens things up for everybody else. And Central Methodist obviously has enough other, good shot, enough other players to make things work.
Kazim taking another look right there. He's been busy with shots. That's already his 4th shot and his 3rd on frame. But Quartas able to stop that one with 4.5 having transpired here in the second half of play. Broncos trail 3-0 to Central Methodist here in the 2019 NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship game as Herman has it. Herman waits on the cross. Now he'll let one go. In close on Pangrazzi. Now loose ball and over the crossbar. What an opportunity that would have been for number 18, Mark Changradi.
Oh, he'll want that one back. The ball was bouncing. He just let it sail up, didn't get his knee and shoulders over it.
The second look of this ball, and Quartas came out. Then he was knocked down by his own players. And Changradi, you could see him kind of scream to himself as he threw the arms down to his side.
He wanted to write his name into history.
Ordinarily, we would say he'll be seeing that one in his sleep, but if the Eagles win a national championship tonight, I don't think he'll be seeing visions of that in his sleep. Visions of raising the trophy and the banner if the Eagles are able to capture their 2nd consecutive and do that for the first time in the NAIA since the turn of the century. 99, 2000, 2001, when Lindsey Wilson went 3 consecutive national championships. And when there's so much parity, it's just so rare that you see a program do what the Eagles have done, and that's just basically dominate all the way through the regular season and then into the postseason. I mean, they scored 7 goals in the game here at the final site against Georgia Gwinnett. You're going up against the best of the best.
Yeah, it just shows the impressive offensive power they have, international flair. They can score and hurt you in so many different ways.
And if Central Methodist is able to hang on and win, they would be the first number 1 seed to win the championship since 2016 when these Broncos won their championship match. They took down Rio Grande down in Delray Beach, Florida, a 1-0 final in the 2016 match. It was Hastings, the 1 seed, against Rio Grande, the number 2. Broncos letting go across towards Aravalo. It was knocked away. Cudini slides one to his right. Connolly tried to whip one back in, and that was knocked free. So a decent little amount of an attack there by the Broncos, but it doesn't lead to anything convincing inside the box as Vince Gillet is able to still just stand back there and keep his uniform clean.
Yeah, he hasn't had much to do except for trapping the ball off of his chest in the first half.
We also have not seen a championship match decided by 3 goals or more since 2005. When Lindenwood, out of Missouri, they took down Azusa Pacific. The final was 4-1 in that matchup. So it's been a long time since we've seen a lopsided score in the championship match, but the Eagles are continuing to go on the attack, and they're trying to flex their muscles just a little bit harder as Luengo will take this free kick from right in front of his sidelines where head coach Alex Nichols is roaming. Good feed into the box. Pointed away by Cudini, and a whistle blows. There's a foul inside. For Central Methodist, and the way that their offense has been able to work this season, awfully impressive when you go game by game. Last time they failed to score 2 goals or more in a contest all the way back on the 14th of September. And for Hastings, it's a defense that just doesn't allow goals very often. They have allowed 6 in a game this season. That came back on the 29th of October when they lost in double overtime to Morningside 6-5. But overall, the 2 best defenses in the country, one of them on display here in this one. Hastings a little bit slow there in the first half. 31 combined shutouts between these 2 programs. That's just remarkable.
Impressive.
What's the old saying? Defense wins championships, right?
They do.
It
Having a
applies to
great
soccer.
defense and offense is even better.
Yeah, and that's what Central Methodist has. Number 1 in offense, number 2 in defense. You put it all together, that's elite. As Stegging soars one right over the crossbar. Best look of the second half for Hastings College. Stegging let one fly. He just came up empty to keep it 3-0.
Maybe best look of the game for them.
Get another look at it, and it was Half-Skull down low. He was trapped, but he got a nice ball up to Stegging, and I like the decision there because as we've seen on a few different occasions in this tournament, Curtis, teams have gotten into a bad position by taking one shot too many or one pass too many, and that time it was Stegging just saying, you know what, I'm going to dial up my own number, let her rip.
Yeah, you can't score unless you shoot. It's good to get those things, especially when you're down 3-0 inside the box. Get a shot off.
Yep.
See if something magical can happen.
Yeah, you hear it in hockey all the time, just get pucks to the net and good things happen. Well, here you can apply the same metric for Hastings. Just get the ball into the box and see what you can do with it at this point. Nice little chip back towards Hernandez. He lets go a shot, and it just missed off to the left. It was a diving effort by Cortas, but it wasn't on frame. Hernandez got that ball right back to him off that quick little chip. I think it was Pangrazzi. He almost went top shelf and just found the corner of the net. Eagles just continue to toy with that fourth goal. They have not scored 4 in a contest since the second round when they got that 7-goal performance against Georgia Gwinnett. 7 goals in 1 contest. One of the better totals they've had this year, though. They've had a lot of 9-goal performances and a couple in which they have scored double figures. They had a 3-game run in the middle of October where they scored at least 9 goals in every contest. Finals of 10-0, 14-0, and 9-0. 33-0 over a 3-game span. That'll help the averages. A toss on the way here for Christian Sanchez Ortiz. He'll take it near side. You can see him right there, field level. He's gotten the whistle. And he can now make the toss. Flickered away off the header by Poynton. Hernandez tries to keep it alive. Now Halfscold works that one free. And now the Broncos try to rush. It's Stegging. Dispossessed, though, nothing but the white shirts of Central Methodist surround the ball. Now over towards Vince Gillet, and Gillet smacks one away. Thrown back in as the Broncos will try to work one all the way down, but unfortunately for Hastings, it goes too far and over towards Vince Gillet, as I'm now joined with Nathan Doctor of the NAIA. And what have you seen so far out here in this championship matchup in a 3-0 Eagles lead?
Quality competition from start to finish. I feel like the selection committee did a good job, and we had the 16 best teams in the nation make it to the final site. Again, hats off to the GSAC and Mike Daniels for putting on a first-class event. Top quality facilities, and putting on a great championship overall for these student athletes.
And certainly a great sign that we're back here in the soccer stadium at the OC Great Park for the championship match after having to be moved because of rain. I know that, you know, the amount of operational work that had to go into moving between a couple of different facilities certainly put a wear on the staff, but everybody with the GSAC and the NAI did a fantastic job.
Yeah, we were very happy with everything that went into the move. Obviously a very difficult decision that we had to make, but we wanted to have the best venue possible for the student athletes' health and wellness and not take away from the championship atmosphere. Didn't have any complaints from coaches or players alike, and we think it went pretty well overall.
And so far here tonight, the pitch holding up as well, so that certainly is a good sign.
Yeah, pitch is looking pretty great, and the competition's going pretty well as well. 2 quality teams, like I said, an upstart in Hastings and the defending champion Central Methodist, so we look forward to a great second half.
And the great news for California fans anyways is that the championship will be back out here for a couple more years, as the GSAC has signed on for 2 more years as hosts here at the OC Great Park.
Yeah, very excited to be back here in California for the next 2 years. First-class facility and a great partner in GSAC. We look forward to working forward with them for many years to come.
Ball's all the way out there up top for the Broncos. Nathan, appreciate you stopping by.
Great, thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the tournament, my friend. As the Eagles possess with Kazim. And run off the ball now. Tarnowski starts to break the other direction. Tarnowski off the touch to his right. He tries to find Kazim over into the corner. Kazim settles, crosses, off the head of Tarnowski, and that one flutters wide. And now we'll see some substitutions here with about 31-13 left to play here in our second half. It's going to be Jayton Johnson coming back on. We've already seen the goal for Jayton Johnson. It was the 3rd goal. It came all the way back at the end there of half number one. Broncos try to chip one ahead, but again, they've been held in check, stymied offensively to this juncture in the contest, as they'll play all the way down towards Arevalo defensively for the Broncos. That's Lisboa with it. And now Connolly will just play one all the way back to a senior goalie. When you start to look at the time that's left in this one, Curtis, and you start to think about the 3-goal deficit, I know it's a tough mountain to climb, but you got to figure for Hastings, if you're going to get back into this match in any capacity, you need a goal to score probably in, what, the next 5 minutes or so?
Yeah, probably 5 to 10 minutes, and Hastings is having a good second half thus far. They're getting Watson on the ball a little bit more. Only had that one opportunity, really, but I think they're looking strong.
All the way back to Quartas. He slips, and now he'll just kick one away as he slides down in the mud. Perhaps an opportunity for the Eagles to recover as Hernandez bends one towards the front post, but running out and making the catch is Quartas before he quickly puts one back into play. Central Methodist turning one. That was Sean Grady. Now all the way to the back line. It comes on a bounce. Out towards Christian Sanchez Ortiz out of Bogota in Colombia. Ball skips away to the sideline and out it goes. Another horn. And it looks like we will see a Hastings sub now. That's Panter coming back on for Hastings. And he will replace number 16, Lucas Getz. So a couple of strikers swapping. Both were in the original starting lineup for head coach Tim Bonenkamp tonight. Panter on and Getz off. Deflected by Watson out of play. And now another horn. And now more subs, but this time it's for Central Methodist. Remember when we talked about how when Marquez came in, the tide shifted in the first half? Well, Ian Marquez has come on and he will replace Pangrazzi. So Marquez saunters over and he'll take his position right up front. Last line of attackers for Central Methodist as they'll have a toss here for Johnson. Let's see if he does that flip again. Not this time. Johnson into the box. It went past a couple of players, then away from Luengo, and now Callum Watson has it. Watson pressured from the side by Johnson, and he's dispossessed. A bender that goes all the way over towards the back line for Hastings. Coming out is Quartas, and he's got it. High into the night sky on a good boot downfield looking for Panter. Panter volleyed off his head. Tarnowski shields him to the sidelines. And it'll go right back for Central Methodist with 27:50 left to go. Both offenses relatively quiet here in the second half after a bunch of shots were taken early. Central Methodist, they have gotten the shot total up to 18 in this one. But Curtis, when you're trying to defend an offense that's doing as good of a job as the Eagles are in terms of possession, how do you tighten up defensively to try and work it back onto your half of the pitch?
You know, sometimes you have to figure out, how do we keep the ball better? Do we need to change something formationally? Can we press them a little bit more? Central Methodist has had a lot of the ball, and good teams that have a lot of the ball is a lot of goals going to be scored.
As was the case in the first half with a trio being scored. We saw goals coming from Kazim first, Paredes second, and then third by Jayton Johnson. The Broncos with it now. Sent into the box, past Wheeler, and if Wheeler was able to get to that one, he had an opportunity as the ball goes out and right back to Central Methodist. Would have been a pretty good opportunity there for Wheeler, who was unmarked inside the 18, but it almost looked like he kind of backed off thinking it was going to Panter in the center, and that was the wrong call.
Yeah, and I think the grass a little bit as well. You can see it slip.
Ball goes out of bounds right there, but it's just a very tough break for the Broncos as if they're able to just communicate a little bit better over there. Maybe they have an opportunity to punch one into the back of the net, get their crowd, get the fans and the sidelines back into it, because they've been quieted now for a while. Connolly again, broken up nicely by the Eagles. They'll keep possession as they advance. Now Luengo waits, and there's Ian Marquez. Marquez right through the middle, stumbles up. He was knocked down from behind by Wheeler, and they'll get him for the foul.
Pretty good tactical foul as you have Martinez flying at you. Stop that counterattack was a good defensive play.
Talk about the size difference between Wheeler at 5'7" and Marquez at 6'4". Really the only way he's going to get that ball away is to foul him.
I've been there, done that.
Chipped into the box by Herman. Open is Marquez, and it's shut down by Quartas. On a nice stop, and Arevalo slides one away as he goes down to the ground. And here comes Panter on the rush. It's broken up and sent all the way into the midfield for Watson. Quartas saving the day on what was almost the fourth goal as Wheeler recovers. And now Wheeler loses one to the sidelines. And right back the other way it goes with a sub coming on for Central Methodist. But boy, what a chance that was. Marquez all alone in the box and up close and personal with Quartas.
Good goalkeeping. Great opportunity for Central Methodist. Back post, your big guy getting the ball in that situation, you would bet on him to score.
That's what Central Methodist wants when they bring Marquez in to kind of fill in the void that they have when Pangrazzi comes out. There's a slide, and look how far Quartas went after he kicked that ball, just sliding in mud up there at the top of the 18. It's turned the other way towards Herman. Herman patiently moving as he waits. He's a veteran player, and he's the Defensive Player of the Year and Co-Player of the Year in the Heart of America Conference. Wise beyond his years despite being a sophomore, and it's pretty funny that this same Eagles team has both Co-Players of the Year in the Heart. You have Hernandez and you have Herman. One of them Defensive Player of the Year in Herman, and Hernandez being the Offensive Player of the Year as we get another look here at Marquez. Only thing you can do in that situation for Quartas is just go down low and try to take it away as the ball's being elevated.
Make yourself as big as possible and hope the ball hits you.
That's why I could never be a goalie. I wouldn't want the ball to hit me like that.
They're a different breed, that's for sure.
Yeah, certainly. Vince Gillet, he's one of the best breeds of goalies over there as he jogs over towards the ball, working on what could be his 50th win to wrap up his stellar career. He's in his senior season, and he'd be a two-time national champion goalie. Not too bad to finish up your collegiate career by taking just one loss in the final season and going a perfect 10-0 in the national tournament. If you're just joining us, 3 goals by Central Methodist, all coming in the first half. We saw Kazim, Paredes, and Johnson. They've all found the back of the net. Impressive in that Kazim, a starter for the first time in this tournament. And for Johnson, first time he was not starting as Marquez flickers his header just wide to the right.
Oh, he's got to do better with that. He's wide open. He's about 6 inches taller than that defender, and he had a wide open header.
They say it was deflected by the Broncos, so this sets up a corner kick on the way here for Central Methodist. This is just their second corner kick of the contest, but an opportunity for them to add on to their advantage.
He has been a handful. Both times he subbed in, he's really changed this game.
Marquez is positioned just to the right of Quartas. So too is Tarnowski. Line drive into the box. Off of one head, recovering is Scheckerman. Scheckerman's got a goal here in the national tournament. Bends one all the way across for Herman, and he hits the side of the net. Good look there by Herman as he came in, but I think he wanted to catch that ball off his feet, and instead it took a bounce, right? That was the difference there. As we get a second look on the screen.
He attacked it well. Good service to back post. Defenders lose their marks. Good technique. If he can hit that far post, he's probably got himself a goal.
Now, again, they call a deflection. I don't know if they thought that Parra maybe feathered that one aside or what the case is, but we'll have another corner kick here for Central Methodist, and once again, it will be Herman. Hernandez is over there as well, and they have a sub waiting to check on in Guzman Perry, but he will wait. Herman bends one in. A lot of traffic as Arevalo headed one away, but somewhere amongst that mosh pit, there's a foul. So the ball quickly put back into play by Mateo Quartas. He's done a nice job here in the second half. Hasn't allowed anything to get past him yet. There's Aravalo, captain of this defense for Hastings College, a native of Salinas, California. Went to the same high school I did, Palma High. It's pretty great getting a chance to catch up with Francisco before the tournament and then after the quarterfinals win for the Broncos as play stops with 20:45 left to go. Tim Bonenkamp on the sideline was not a happy camper.
Yeah, he's wanting a card for the tactical foul. He might be getting a card himself.
There is a card out from our referee. He has not officially lifted his arm yet, but they're having a lengthy discussion over there. And perhaps a situation like this, Coach, where maybe he's just trying to stick up for his guys.
Yeah, there's some frustration there, and that's your best player. He definitely got fouled, and feels like he's getting fouled a couple of times. You want a card, you want your best players protected.
No, I never actually saw them lift the arm on the card, so I don't think they gave it, did they not?
No, sometimes the ref brings that out just to kind of show some intent to keep that coach quiet, and let's play ball.
If you get one more questionable look in the midfield, perhaps Bonenkamp will actually get that card sent his way if he's not going to be in agreement with the decision, as there's a whistle and a foul called by Hernandez on his tackle. Yeah, bended Connolly on that one. Connolly's got it right back for the Broncos, down by 3 with 20 minutes left to play, and he'll just take it straight through the middle, knifing his way through the defense, now hooks off to the left. Connolly slides through Tarnowski. To the end line it goes. This will be a corner kick for the Broncos.
Hastings is coming out. They're getting a couple of opportunities now, pushing. They're getting on the ball a little bit more and driving at the back line of Central Methodist, causing some problems.
And again, it will be Callum Watson to go back there and take it. Just 4 shots in this contest so far. They have not done a great job getting many good looks off these set pieces. That one is sent high into the night sky off a header. Watson back up top of the box. There goes a ball towards the top right corner that just missed from Dan Wheeler. He was right there, and he tried to just perfectly place one with the sniper rifle. Just missed.
Almost found that top right corner.
So Guzman Perry comes in now for Central Methodist. He was waiting quite some time to check on. Changradi exits with now 19 minutes left to play here in the championship match. Central Methodist 19 minutes away from going back-to-back in the NAIA National Championship. 13 returning players on this roster, and 13 players could be 2-time NAIA champions. And this is the final game of the men's soccer season. The whistle blows and a foul against the Broncos all the way over on that far side. As a couple more Eagles make their way over towards the table, so too there is one Bronco at the bench. And when you're in a 3-0 contest like this, you can give these guys some run, give them a chance to say, we played in a national championship.
Yeah, it's a special moment to say you got to step on the field on the national championship final.
Vince Gillet sends one in towards the top of the box, pushed aside, and now back line for Hastings. They'll try to work it free, but instead right back in it goes. Everything on sides for now. Quartas is down, but the ball will roll to the sidelines, and Quartas is hobbling as the subs will now come on, and down onto his knees is Mateo Quartas.
Yeah, he came out strong, brave. He got definitely nicked with the foot there.
He's up as the subs have come on. Pangrazzi is on as the clock stops. Paredes has come off for Central Methodist. He's one of the goal scorers in this contest. Marquez has come off as well. Looks like they're still just checking on Quartas and making sure everyone is in order inside the box. We'll see a throw here by Johnson. From the shrubbery, the flip, the fire. Flickered down, turning around and missing on his shot. Second chance, Scheckerman, it's in. Chaos in the box. Halfscold is able to clear. Again, about 4 or 5 chances for Central Methodist to come through with their 4th goal, and somehow they were unable to get one into the back of the net.
Sometimes the game of soccer, you're there, and it just won't go in.
A beautiful flip by Johnson.
Could have been a handball.
Yeah, you're right. It was very close, but sometimes maybe when it's in too close like that, it can be a disadvantage.
So many bodies there. It's great framing by the Hastings defender there on the back post to keep this ball out.
Oh, that was very close on. No point in there. You're right. He almost got a hand on that one. They could have called it, but they choose not to. And it stays at 3-0 with 16 and a half left to go here in regulation. Ball out, goal kick on the way, and Cortes doesn't have a ball. He'll now get one and line it up for Hastings as they look to try and mount something. 5 shots, 1 on frame so far. As he slips on his free kick, it goes right into the midfield, but the Broncos are able to recover. If only for a moment, Eagles once again. Back and forth it's volleyed, off the heads, no one using their feet. That's Guzman Perry with it. And the ball goes out. And another goal kick and another substitution. We'll see junior Kazim check on now for Central Methodist. Kazim with number 9 on his chest. He replaces number 17, Jayton Johnson, who's had a nice contest off the bench in this one. Johnson, another goal scorer for Central Methodist. Off ahead towards us, right in front to the bleachers as it's tossed in. Hastings. Time winding down. They've got 30 wins all time at the NAIA National Championship. A good 21 more than Central Methodist, but a lot of these players have not been this deep before, and a lot of the players for Central Methodist, they have been here before. Nobody on the Hastings roster a part of the 2016 title group, and certainly no one was playing collegiate soccer back in 2010 when the Broncos won their first. Ball sent in towards the box. Can Wheeler get in there? No, just a little bit off. And now it's up towards Pangrazzi for Central Methodist. Shimmied to the left by Perry. Off target now, Francisco Arevalo is back to work. And here comes Watson to get. Back to Watson. Stops, hurdles over the ball, recovers, and lost it. Worked free and to the sidelines. It goes. Broncos right back on it with 14 and 22 left.
Yeah, the Broncos are going to need to kind of start pushing high and throwing some numbers up. It doesn't really matter if you get scored on. Let's go get ourselves a goal and be respectable in this game. They really, second half, have shown well. Created a couple of opportunities. Let's see what can come from this.
There's Watson from that midfield circle. Dishes off to his right. He's got Connolly. Connolly sends one diagonally in, and he was looking to hook up with Panter. It was headed away. The ball back into play. Panter turning around. Connolly. Ball went out. He gets it back.
You'll notice they've been getting Watson the ball a lot more in the middle. Yep. He's been pulling the strings.
He'll let one go, and Gillet, did he touch that one? I think he did. Vince Gillet didn't know whether he should try to stop that shot that had a lot of heat on it, and it was hugging the ground the whole way from Watson, and he did deflect it, so this will be a corner kick. I mean, that's a long ways out. Watson's saying, you know what, I've been quieted so far, I'm just going to take a shot and see what happens. Up top of the box, Halfscold right back for Watson to get him in closer. Sends one in. He froze Gillet, but I think that was Marcos Herman, Defensive Player of the Year in the Heart of America Conference, who made a nice play guarding the back post.
Yeah, Central Methodist needs to be a little bit careful. I think they've kind of shut down maybe a bit too early. I know there's 12 minutes left, but Hastings is pushing well here.
We'll try it again on a line drive in. All the way out towards the midfield stripe, it will roll. How aggressively does Hastings want to play this? Wheeler back into the box. Knocked away, up to Halfscold, and that one went off of his hand.
So frustrating as a player. We're pushing, that ball pops up, hits the hand, kills the momentum.
Yeah, went right off that right foot of Halfscold, and thought he was trying to play it off his knee. We get another look at that first corner here with Watson, and what about the decision to play it in shorter for Callum Watson. You like that call?
Yeah, fantastic. He's really whipping the ball in well. Any deflection that's in the back of the net, I like that.
It was a great defensive play by Marcos Herman, who again we said is the Defensive Player of the Year in the Heart and Co-Player of the Year. Been in this position before. NAIA National Champion as a freshman, now trying to do the same as a sophomore. Twisted aside by Kudini over towards Watson. Watson will send one ahead towards Getz. Getz is able to track it down and keep it at his feet, and now he's got a rush. Streaking along is Panther. To Halfscold, he turns, and it's deflected right over towards Gillet from Victor Loengo. That could have been extremely dangerous, sending one back towards your goalie like that, but fortunately, it was done softly enough that it didn't come back to haunt Central Methodist.
You know, it's interesting. It's taken Watson about a half. I wonder if he didn't sit out last game, if he's better the full 90 minutes. He's really come alive the second half. You can tell he's quality.
Over towards Wheeler, fakes. Takes it all the way up towards the top of the box. One touch too many, but he got it over to Watson. Watson with a shove. He'll turn around and find Kudini. Kudini over towards Fernando Lisboa, who's been really unheard of here in the second half. Kudini ahead. Kudini pressured from behind. To the left, he's got Poynton, who's now playing all the way up, away from one of his center back positions. Deflected ball into the box. Loengo sends it away. And Poynton will just watch that one go to the sidelines as finally the Broncos are able to mount some type of attack. Watson waiting, threading. Wheeler back to Watson. Watson weaving left, taking a deflected shot. It ricochets over towards the corner where Connolly is able to retrieve it. He'll keep it alive to himself. Kudini pushed down in the box. That's a foul. And we're going to see a penalty kick.
Clear-cut foul, just chopped him down. Really, this is deserved by Hastings. The last 15 minutes, they've really been pushing. Central Methodist needs to make sure they don't shut down too early here.
Get another look. That's deliberate over there by number 4, Andrea De Simone. This is hard to believe, but the third penalty kick for Hastings in this national tournament. They've had a couple of different players take them so far. But right here, they'll turn to Will Poynton. Poynton put one in yesterday. One-on-one, it's really a guessing game at this point. Poynton's ready. He buries it right past the left palm of Vince Gillet. Poynton scores for the second time in the tournament, and maybe some life with 10:05 left to go. It's now 3-1.
They are the Cinderella team. They have 10 minutes to prove it.
Take a look at it again. Vince Gillet guessed right.
He got,
and by right, I mean left. He guessed to his left.
He got both palms on it. He just struck with so much pace it slipped under him.
Oh, what a fantastic effort diving towards that post, and Gillet just looked up to the heavens and said, I had that one. He almost made a fantastic stop on it, but nonetheless, it's now 3-1, and perhaps some life here for Hastings as Poynton has his 7th goal of the season, his 2nd on a PK, and it's now 3-1 here in the national championship game. I said earlier that Hastings would probably want that first goal to come with about 20 to 25 left on the clock. You fear it might be too little too late, but there's now some noise coming over there from their sideline, so at least they're energized.
Yeah, you see the energy, you can feel the energy. Hastings is really starting to get the flow of this game right here.
Quartas sends one, a spinning ball over towards Connolly, who sends it down off his chest and then he slips. Here comes Johnson ahead. Johnson being pressured from behind by Connolly. Then he overruns the ball, threads one in. Closest one there is Quartas, and he'll pick that one up. Less than 9 to play as Quartas sends one to the sideline over the head of Getz and out. And now a couple of more substitutions for Central Methodist. Sean Grotti and Marquez come on, and Pangrazzi and Johnson will exit. Those are your two substitutions. Actually, Johnson's going to stay on, and instead it will be Guzman Perry who exits. So that's your change now with 8.5 to go. Time winding down on the season for Hastings. It'll take a pretty remarkable comeback. They want to climb the mountain, but they took the first step with that PK goal by Will Poynton. Wango tries to chip one to himself in the corner. Deflected out. This will be a toss deep in their defensive third for the Broncos. Poynton spikes the ball into the grass. He wanted to, I think, throw one in, but he didn't have anything working. It's in, and now bobbled, and now a foul. And I think they got Andrea De Simone once again. Will Poynton, the penalty kick goal. In the 80th minute, providing some sort of life. It's his second goal in a matter of contest for Hastings. His second here at the national championship. And for Poynton, how instrumental he's been on the PKs, hitting both of them. And for Hastings as a team, what does that say about a team, Curtis, when you're able to force 3 penalty kicks over a span of about 5 days? Does that mean you're going to work hard in the box?
Yeah, I think you're creating things in the box. You're putting your body in front of a defender, and sometimes it's just knowing when to go down.
A little bit of gamesmanship, perhaps, and acting, maybe?
100% in the men's game. You see it a lot. Sometimes it's knowing when to take a foul and how to go down with it.
Herman towards Kazim, punched away, and Marquez has a second chance, but it ricocheted too far away and into the waiting arms of Mateo Cuartas. So we stay at a 3-1 game. The Eagles, once again, they're coming dangerously close, but they haven't been able to fire in that extra tally. The Eagles are starting to get heavy with their rotations in terms of substitutions here in the second half. They bring on 2 more. Hernandez, you can see him coming on, and he replaces Andrea De Simone. Kazim to the sidelines as well.
Yeah, some of that's tactical, get some fresh bodies on, but also to take some time off the clock, some precious time off that clock.
Yeah, and good to do it now before the 5-minute mark, because once the 5-minute mark hits, you are no longer able to make any substitutions with the running clock as the team that's in front. As Rodrigo Paredes also checked in for Central Methodist. They'll loft it in, past Scheckerman. An opportunity for Sanchez Ortiz, but a whistle and a foul against the Eagles. And now with just 5.5 left, it's kind of time for the all-out attack, right?
It is. You need to throw everything at it. Here comes a card.
Yep, a yellow card has been given, and what did they get on that one? Is it Jayton Johnson? We'll await on the official designation as the clock stopped with 5:24 left to go. It's not Johnson, and it's number 19, Carlos Scheckerman. So Scheckerman's got a goal in this tournament. He now picks up a yellow card. For Scheckerman, that's his 4th yellow card of the season. The ball was put back into play, but put back into play prematurely.
Yeah, I got to wait for that ref's whistle before he can put it back into play. We all know that. A little anxious.
Yeah, they know the season is coming down to a close, and they're trying to salvage every second off that clock they can get. Now they get it in and knocked away. So when you're going on the all-out attack, as I imagine Hastings is going to have to do, how many of your defenders do you start to bring up?
Yeah, it depends. A lot of times people go to a third back, throw another forward up there. A difficulty a little bit, if you're not used to that, you waste a lot of your attacks. What you're used to as a team, you kind of go away from, you just start sending balls. What's been working for Hastings is getting the ball to Watson. They've done that much better the second half, and you see it be successful for them.
Yeah, and you talk about the familiarity of having to go on that type of attack. Once you get to this point and you got 2 of the best teams in the country, they're not used to playing from behind at this point in the game. So they're used to defending those rushes and not necessarily working on them in practice.
Yeah, that's true.
I know you certainly don't want to work on playing from behind, but how much of the time when you're building out your practices for your programs are you going to work on those last-second efforts when you need a goal.
Yeah, you work on it quite often. You're constantly trying to put your team in situations where you're up or down. Do we need to kill the game? Do we need to go? How do we change our tactics and formations? Yeah, the best teams are working on that stuff quite often.
The ball wraps over towards the sidelines. Well, one of the Hastings goalies comes up out of his seat. That's Para over there, who is just sitting on the sidelines. Came up to stop that ball. Again, we're not quite sure why Jesus Para not in goal tonight for the championship match. But 3 early goals for Central Methodist, staking them to the advantage they have. It's now at 3-1 after Poynton got the PK goal. Just 3 minutes and 40 seconds left in the contest as that one is fired wide.
Yeah, as a neutral bystander, I think Hastings deserved that goal. They've been pushing well, and it's good for them to get that.
Their second half has certainly been much better than their first.
It really has.
You know, you hate to shine a negative light on it, but it is tough to play much worse, at least given the magnitude of this contest. You thought that Hastings would come out and play a much more conservative style at first. They didn't do that, and it didn't come back to bite them at all, but once Central Methodist found its footing and once they started to open things up, that's when Hastings kind of crawled back into their shell a little bit.
Definitely, and being the #1 defense in America, giving up 3 goals is pretty disastrous.
Certainly not something they're accustomed to doing, just a handful of times all season and none since October. As it's Wheeler working to his left. He'll try to get one to the top of the box. Getz was the closest one there. And now Sanchez Ortiz is able to knife one free out towards Ian Marquez. Marquez waits, rolls one in the direction of Hernandez, but Arevalo is right there, and he will turn one towards the sidelines with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to play in the national championship. Sanchez Ortiz on the toss. Into the corner for Marquez. He keeps it alive, tiptoeing that white line. Back turn. Now he's got 2 Broncos who've galloped in. Ball out. Goal kick on the way. 120 ticks remain. Forgets. Wheeler. Broken up on the slide by Luengo. He's had a nice contest as well. There's Hernandez. Hernandez will change direction and go across towards Paredes. Paredes now working with space. He's got Johnson on the left wing. Into the corner, pressured by Lisboa. Whistle, ball goes out, goal kick on the way as Johnson was shoved down at the last moment. He's getting a talking to over there after that last late shove. That was Tom Stegging. You'd hate to see it get chippy in the final 75 seconds. Right back in the box. Johnson's got a free rush. It was broken up by Quartas. Paredes is going to wrap one back. And it missed everything. Quartas tried to dive to his right. It didn't matter as it missed the post. And now there's 70 seconds left.
Yeah, Watson just got pickpocketed and almost cost him a goal.
All the way to the back row for Central Methodist. Vince Gillet. Out across past the midfield stripe with 40 seconds to go. On to Quartas. It was a Cinderella story this year for Hastings College. Unseeded entering the national championship despite being ranked 15th in the country, as Johnson is offsides and then some contact as it goes into Quartas, and then he gives a shove to Johnson. The clock continues to bleed with now 15 seconds left. We'll see if we get a stoppage. Now there's some shouting going on as we get a look at what happened. The clock now comes to a halt. Johnson and Quartas, as Quartas just spun around there in the mud. The clock officially stopped with 8 seconds. It probably should have been stopped sooner. Now both of their uniforms are just covered with mud and dirt over there at the top of the 18. Quartas has gone over beside Johnson. Quartas is having none of that. They reset 4 extra ticks onto the clock. It's currently showing 12 seconds. As this discussion gets a little bit lengthier with another Bronco coming in. And number 15, David Panter. The referee sends him aside as now we try to sort through what happened.
Yeah, it's a tough tackle coming in, goalie coming out, very exposed, got cleated. I could see as a goalkeeper being a little bit frustrated with that situation right there. 10 ticks left on the clock, you know your season's up, you're a senior goalkeeper, and then you get a cleat. He'll have some studs in his stomach.
They gave the yellow card to Jayton Johnson as Mateo Cortes puts it back into play, and the clock bleeds down. For the second time in as many seasons here in Irvine, California, we won't have a national champion just yet as the clock stops with 3 seconds. It never fails, right? Right when you're about to give this illustrious sign-off to the national champions, you get a stoppage of play with 3 seconds.
Well, they'll throw everybody up here, I'm sure, huh? The keeper's injured, but I'm assuming everybody's up there. You're going to toss the ball in the box, see what we can do.
It'll be Callum Watson one final time in the 2019 season, and for the second year in a row, Central Methodist University has won the NAIA National Championship. They rush the box. 3 goal scorers in the first half. And Central Methodist, back-to-back champions, the first time in 18 years we've seen a repeat champion in the NAIA. You'd have to go all the way back to Lindsey Wilson when they did it in 99, 2000, and 01. The Eagles entered the tournament as the number 1 seed, the first 1 seed to win since 2016. And they do so with a 3-1 final as they celebrate at the top of their box. Curtis, we saw it on display throughout the evening. You could see why Central Methodist was the number 1 seed. And while you hadn't seen them play in person, you leave this matchup and you certainly have to be impressed with what they possess on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, as a quality team, there's no real holes in them. Obviously, 25 shots to 8. It could have been more than 3. Credit the Broncos for staying in the game, pushing hard. I think they did not get Watson the ball enough the first half. Second half, they did. Been interesting if they didn't have to sit out the semifinal if he was a little bit more active. But yeah, the Eagles were amazing.
Central Methodist University, the 2nd national championship in a row, the 2nd in program history. And they have still never lost a contest at the NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship. 10-0 all time. Central Methodist, their season as the underdogs coming to a close. 20 wins, 3 losses, and 3 draws. And coach, they came close. They were able to mount a better second half, but that early hole that they climbed into themselves just a little bit too much to fall. So that'll do it for our coverage here of the NAIA National Championship. On behalf of Curtis Lewis, I'm Brian Brownfield saying so long from Irvine, California, where Central Methodist goes back-to-back and they win the national championship with a 3-1 final over Hastings College. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN. And we're still on the back at the OC Great Park as Central Methodist University celebrates its second consecutive NAIA National Championship as they defeat the Broncos of Hastings College by a final score of 3-1. And Coach, we'll take a look at these goals that were scored by Central Methodist first. The first one from Junior Kazim.
Excellent goal, far post shot, split the defense. Great celebration coming up.
He's just elated. The second one coming in courtesy of Rodrigo Paredes, and this is the best pass of the tournament by far.
Excellent pass, finding the top of the box, waiting. Midfielder coming through, strikes it really well outside of his right boot. Great shot, great finish.
And then we have the third goal, courtesy of Jayton Johnson. It came at 43-47. This one, the ultimate dagger off a beautiful ball in by Guzman Perry, and what a finish.
Probably the best finish of the game, just technically being able to hit that out of the air, right foot, right post, and then the best celebration of the tournament.
You're right. I'm glad you brought that up because that was a heck of a celebration from Jayton Johnson, and why not when you score the third and final goal of the national championship to eventually bring it to a 3-1 final. As Central Methodist goes back-to-back in the NAIA. They did so in 2018 and then in 2019 as the Hastings Broncos are being awarded with their runner-up awards for finishing second place in the national championship. Well, that'll do it for our coverage of the 2019 NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship. I want to thank Curtis Lewis for joining me here on the broadcast, and on behalf of our entire crew, I'm Brian Brownfield saying so long from Irvine. Central Methodist, back-to-back national champions in the NAIA as they take down Hastings College by a final score of 3-1. You've been watching this presentation of the NAIA Men's Soccer National Championships live on ESPN.
Number 30, Mateo Barbosa. Number 31, Jesus Pata. Number 33, Kevin Toledo Brutus. Hastings assistant coaches, Cesar Herrera, Daniel Jelly, and head coach Tim Bonkamp. Coach Bonkamp and the captain, Hastings, please step forward and receive the runner-up trophy. recognize the outstanding individual performances for the 2019 National Championship, the all-tournament team selected by the participating coaches. At forward, Central Methodist, Alberto Pedrazi. At forward, from Hastings, Lucas Yes. At forward, Oklahoma Wesleyan, Alberto Ticci. At forward, from Columbia College, Joey Smokansky. At midfielder, from Central Methodist, Daniel Hernandez. At midfielder, from Central Methodist, Rodrigo Paredes. At midfielder, from Hastings, Callum Watson. Midfielder, from Lindsey Wilson, Heiner De Jesus. At the defender, from Central Methodist, Carlos Sheckerman. At the defender, from Hastings, Will Pointon. At the defender, from Lindsey Wilson, Anwar Adam. At the defender, from Columbia College, Charles Norman. At goalkeeper, from Lindsey Wilson, David Coffey. And a goalkeeper, from Central Methodist, Vince Gillet. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's congratulate the 2019 All-Tournament team. This year's most outstanding offensive player, from Central Methodist, Daniel Hernandez. This year's most outstanding defensive player, from Central Methodist, Carlos Sheckerman. And now the Most Valuable Player Award presents the top overall performer in the championship. This year's Most Valuable Players, from Central Methodist, Vince Gillet. Let's have a hand for all tournament performers and our special award winners. And now we proudly present the individual awards for 2019 National Champions, the Eagles of Central Methodist. Number 0, Harry Portis. Number 1, Vince Gillet. Number 3, Hunter Gilhan. Number 4, Andrea De Simone. Number 5, Vincenzo Centrella. Number 7, Luke Alvarez. Rodrigo Paredes. Number 9, Junior Husby. Number 10, Daniel Hernandez. Number 11, Guzman Perry. Number 12, Martin Cousins. Number 13, Colin Moore. Number 14, Fabio Tarnowski. Number 15, Victor Luengo. Number 16, Christian Sanchez Ortiz. Number 17, Jake Johnson. Number 18, Mark Andrade. Number 19, Carlos Sheckerman. Number 20, Marcos Herman. Number 21, Jakob Otto. Number 22, Leon Rosemary. Number 23, Alberto Brazzi. Number 24, Alejandro Soro. Number 25, Leon Marquez. Coaches, David Mesca. Coach, Rafael Ortiz Pereira. Assistant coach, Ricardo Olaya. And head coach, Central Methodist, Alex Nichols. Mike Daniels, Commissioner of the Golden State Athletic Conference, now present the 2019 NAIA Men's Soccer National Championship Trophy and banner. Coach Nichols and Central Methodist, come forward and claim your trophy. Congratulations to the Eagles, Central Methodist University.